Well, good evening, America. It is 7 p.m. Thursday, September 3rd, and this is Queer News Tonight, the world's first live LGBTQ daily evening news. It's time to queer up the news.
Watch as we bring you these and other stories from the LGBTQ headlines. Facing Trump's LGBTQ outreach, advocates hold firm on plan to show his record, and a second judge blocks efforts to end LGBTQ healthcare protections.
Before we begin to bring you all of the news tonight, we want to take a moment to thank all of the essential workers who have helped our country and others around the world get through this pandemic that has raged for over half a year now. Monday is Labor Day, and in pandemic, Labor Day 2020 has never been more important to celebrate because of our essential workers, our first responders, and those that help us all survive. So tonight, in honor of you, everyone at Happening Television Network and all of our platforms say humbly, Happy Labor Day to you, and thank you. Watch this.
I'm Colby Melvin, host of Gay Town Hall.
I'm Aaron Darr, anchor at Q News Tonight.
I'm David Hopkins, part of the production team at Happening Television Network.
I'm Misty Ives, anchor of Queer News Tonight.
I'm Chef Josie, host of Happening.Fun.
I'm Darrell Watkins, the senior minister of the Sunshine Cathedral.
I'm Al Ferguson, anchor of Queer News Tonight.
To our food providers,
Grocers,
government workers,
doctors,
nurses,
medical staff, and first responders,
thank you.
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 To those who work behind the scenes
To make those jobs possible.
Thank you.
To our medical administrators, janitors,
Maintenance, sanitation,
And medical waste workers. Thank you.
To our 911 operators
And the IT and maintenance workers that keep dispatching our much needed first responders.
Thank you.
to our farmers,
food manufacturers, and other food workers
who keep our food store supplied.
Thank you.
To our warehouse, delivery, and postal workers
that make public exposure less necessary.
Thank you.
To our truck, bus, and other drivers
who keep our workers functional.
Thank you.
To our water, trash, power,
internet, phone, and other utility and communication workers
that make isolation
possible. Thank you.
To the family members that are at greater risk
because their loved ones
are our essential workers.
And to our LGBTQ family members,
many of whom don't have the safety, rights, or protections
that other essential workers do,
yet who persist in keeping all of us functional.
Thank you.
To all of you
who have tirelessly and with
unrelenting resolve help us
work through this pandemic,
we say thank you.
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 We say thank you. Happy Labor Day to our essential workers. Well, good evening again, America. It is 7 p.m. Thursday, September 3rd, 2020, and it is time to queer up the news. We are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your stories we are going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight. Tonight on the world's first live daily queer evening news show.
Tonight's news about the gay community and the news from an LGBTQ perspective. Are our gay stories important to you? In headlines, politics, entertainment, gay culture, travel, religion, and more. Reported by respected anchors.
Out of the closet and into the headlines on Q News Tonight. Well, thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. We are live. This is an unedited evening news show. Unedited, so anything can happen. This evening, we bring you the news of and a perspective from the LGBTQ community. I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and this is my co-anchor, David Hopkins. So let's queer up the news. Tonight we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ community in America is certainly diverse. The LGBTQ community around the world is vast, and we bring you the bullet points of queer news for today, Thursday, September 3rd, 2020. Let's begin by queering up Vote 2020 by reporting Trump appears to encourage North Carolinians to vote twice to test the system? Watch this.
But they say no matter what it is, there are more votes for Trump, because a lot of people say, just leave me alone. I'm going to vote the way I want to vote. And then they go into their vote for Trump. On your ballots, if you get the unsolicited ballots, send it in and then go make sure it counted. And if it doesn't tabulate, you vote. You just vote. And then if they tabulate it very late, which they shouldn't be doing, they'll see you voted, and so it won't count. So send it in early and then go and vote. And if it's not tabulated, you vote, and the vote is going to count. You can't let them take your vote away.
Wow. President Donald Trump on Wednesday appeared to encourage people in North Carolina to vote twice, once by mail and once in person, during the November general election to purportedly double-check that their initial vote was counted. This, of course, is getting immediate pushback from state officials, since voting more than once is highly illegal, a felony actually, and would cause both votes to be disqualified. For someone who talks about voter fraud so much, you would think the president would recognize it before he offers it as advice. Trump has also argued that security measures for mail-in ballots are less secure than those for absentee ballots, but there is no distinction between the two at all. There are strict measures in place across the country to verify the authenticity of all ballots cast in the mail. These measures are extremely successful. More than 99.9% of votes in U.S. elections are legitimate.
And that's the thing he's trying for. He's trying to prove mail-in voting is, wrought with fraud by getting his followers to commit that fraud. I say they should go for it. I mean, that's going to end up less votes and less Republicans out on the streets.
It is illegal to do this. There's no question about it. It is illegal to do this. It is probably illegal for him to even suggest it.
Next, we queer up the USA. Grandmother comes out to her granddaughter in moving viral video. Watch this.
Exactly what you just said.
I said that if I ever got involved with anybody again, it wouldn't be a man, it would be a woman. I do like women. I like women much more than men.
But attractive. Do you prefer women's bodies?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, I think boobs are nice.
I think you've been repressing it your whole life because society.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
I think the penis is not that keen on it.
What's the age requirements?
Probably about late 60s.
Ooh, you're a cougar.
Late 60s.
Okay, you like the younger women.
I just like women anyhow. I've never liked men that much.
Same.
Eh?
Same.
But at the moment, Amy, all I want to do is survive.
You go, Grandma. Speaking with her granddaughter during the TikTok video, the grandmother expressed her attraction to women and feeling she had to hide this due to the time she grew up in. She says, quote, "If I ever got involved with anybody again, it wouldn't be a man, it would be a woman." Since the video went up on TikTok, it's received 108.8 thousand likes and 1,674 comments, with messages of support and love. In recent years, many older LGBTQ people have been opening up and speaking about their experience.
Well, I have just seen this video in Queer News Tonight, and I have fallen in love with that woman, and I immediately understand she would not like my penis, and I'm cheering for her.
But you know what? I do like boobs too. Not in the same way she does, but they're fun.
Let's continue by queering up the world and reporting a homophobic street preacher tried to bring his hate to a queer neighborhood, but instead, it backfires. Watch this.
We're all afraid because you have nothing to say. You want to have a discussion?
No, not really.
You don't want to have a discussion. They said, I don't want to talk. That's a lie. You want to have a discussion instead of hitting me? You want to have a discussion instead of hitting me? You're assaulting people. You guys are assaulting people. I said nothing hateful today. Nothing. I said nothing hateful, and yet these people are bullying me. Why can't I have my freedom of speech on a public sidewalk?
Well, queer folk in Vancouver, Canada, protested against an anti-LGBTQ preacher in the best possible way by draping themselves in rainbow flags and blasting out Lady Gaga songs. Anti-LGBTQ preacher David Lynn, founder of Christ Forgiveness Ministries, was due to speak in Vancouver's West End, home to much of the city's LGBTQ population, on August 31st. He often uses loudspeakers to make sure his message was heard, and previously preached repentance to LGBTQ people in Toronto's gay village. In response to his visit, a Dance Against Hate protest was organized by Alternative Pride Vancouver.
It's funny, in this time of social media, I actually couldn't find video from the people in the LGBT community. That's from his own YouTube channel. And he proudly states several times, Black preachers' lives matters, homosexuals are going to hell.
It is an amazing moment that somebody, I have been in pride parades where I have been shouted down by these mega microphones that he had, and it's interesting to watch a counter protest, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Next, we queer up the USA. A man brought an AR-15 to a gay bar and shouted that he would, quote, have killed those faggots. A man who went to an LGBTQ bar in Missouri with an AR-15 and 160 rounds has been sentenced to 46 months in prison. Freddie Lee Doyle, 32, pled guilty to a charge of unlawful possession of a firearm in federal court in exchange for prosecutors dropping hate crimes charges. Assistant Attorney General Eric Drebend said in a statement, quote, the Department of Justice will not tolerate this kind of hateful violence. The Civil Rights Division strives to protect all Americans from acts of aggression and violence based on their race, color, or sexual orientation.
Next week, Queer Up Vote 2020, and reporting gay mayor Alex Morse loses his congressional bid after homophobic Grindr smear campaign. Richard Neal, chair of the House of Representatives Ways and Means Committee, fought off the challenge from Morse, the mayor of Holyoke, in Tuesday's Massachusetts primary. The defeat for Morse comes after one of the ugliest primaries seen in 2020, with supporters of Neal orchestrating an alleged plot to smear Morse over his sex life while shadowy attack ads were launched capitalizing on the issue, though Neal has insisted he had no involvement in the campaign on Grindr.
Next week, Queer Up Entertainment. Drag Race editor issues vehement denial after being accused of throwing queens under the bus with villain edits. The editor, Jamie Martin, has spoken out to deny that the show intentionally manipulates viewers or seeks to edit some queens in a negative light. Martin also suggested that Drag Race was much more faithful to the cast than other reality TV shows, while Drag Race judge Michelle Visage commented that she didn't even know what a villain edit was.
Next week, Queer Up Vote 2020, in reporting facing Trump's LGBTQ outreach, advocates hold firm on their plan to show his record. Faced with the Trump campaign's attempt at LGBTQ outreach, an unprecedented effort from a Republican presidential nominee, especially from an incumbent who has built an anti-LGBTQ record, LGBTQ advocacy groups such as GLAAD have doubled down their efforts to prove that President Trump is all talk and no substance when it comes to advancing LGBTQ issues.
Next week, Queer Up the USA. From bathrooms to ball fields, transgender rights advance in wake of Supreme Court ruling. When the Supreme Court ruled in June that a law barring sex discrimination in employment applies to gay, lesbian, and transgender workers, dissenting Associate Justice Samuel Alito warned it was, quote, certain to have far-reaching consequences. Well, it didn't take long for some of Alito's predictions to become reality. In recent weeks, federal judges from New York to Florida to Idaho have cited the Supreme Court's ruling to justify expanding transgender rights beyond the workplace. Even with a majority of conservative judges on the bench, it appears the tide is turning for the LGBTQ community.
Next, let's continue to queer up the USA and reporting California lawmakers pass a bill to apply sexual offense laws equally to the LGBTQ community. California lawmakers have approved a bill that seeks to apply the state's sexual offense laws for straight people equally to the LGBTQ people or individuals in California. Under current law, it is a crime for a person over the age of 18 to have sex with a person under the age of 18. But if an 18-year-old high schooler, for example, has penile vaginal sex with their 17-year-old girlfriend or boyfriend, judges are allowed to exercise discretion in terms of punishment, and the older teenager is not automatically required to register as a sex offender. In the exact same situation for anal and oral sex, however, they are automatically placed on the sex offender registry in a holdover to a law that banned oral and anal sex among any two consenting adults.
Next, we queer up entertainment. Star Trek introduces its first non-binary and trans characters in franchise history. After years of criticism for its minimal LGBTQ representation, Star Trek is finally pushing into the new frontiers. Star Trek Discovery announced Wednesday that the franchise would be introducing its first ever non-binary and transgender characters in Season 3 of the series. Non-binary actor Blue DeBarrio will make their acting debut in the role of the non-binary character Adira, while trans actor Ian Alexander will be playing a trans character named Gray, the first major Trill character in Star Trek since Deep Space Nine.
That's exciting news. Next, we queer up gay culture. In reporting, new words have been added to the dictionary, including asexual, deadname, biromantic, and more have been added. The dictionary is queerer than ever. On Tuesday, the website dictionary.com announced that it is adding 650 new words to its glossary, in addition to revising over 11,000 existing definitions in its search engine. The update reflects changes in changing vocabularies around race, sexual orientation, gender, and mental health, and several new entries comprise terms pertaining directly to the LGBTQ community. These words include ace, asexual, biromantic, deadname, gender inclusive, trans plus, and pride.
Next, we queer up entertainment. Camp Rehoboth offers free tickets to Labor Day event. Camp Rehoboth's annual Labor Day weekend Sundance event, which kicked off August 29th, culminates with The Experience Saturday, September 5th at 6 p.m. Tickets are free to join the festivities. This year's Sundance, with its theme of United in Love, went virtual due to pandemic concerns. It still includes an online auction, live stream events, and a bachelor auction among the adjusted activities.
Let's queer up health. A second judge blocks effort to end LGBTQ healthcare protections. The ruling came Wednesday in a case brought by Whitman Walker Clinic in Washington, D.C., and other health organizations that serve many LGBTQ clients. Judge James E. Boasberg of the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia granted the plaintiff's request for a preliminary injunction, which blocks enforcement of two key portions of a rule issued by the Department of Health and Human Services.
Next, we queer up business. Facebook will stop accepting new political ads a week before the U.S. presidential election. Facebook will stop taking new political advertising in the United States in the 7 days leading up to the election, CEO Mark Zuckerberg said today, as part of a series of steps the community is taking to protect against election interference, although they've said they will not be fact-checking ads up to that point. That's very big of you, Mark.
Next, let's catch up on all the news surrounding COVID-19 with our segment we call Quarantine Quickies. The first story tonight is our daily reporting of the coronavirus facts, especially important to the LGBTQ community. We report on first coronavirus case numbers. Based on standard acceptance of our LGBTQ community, the world's LGBTQ COVID-19 cases now stand at 1,843,273, while America's LGBTQ COVID-19 cases stand at 441,367. We remind you that America continues to be ground zero of the pandemic. The USA is just 4.4% of the world's population, and today America is 23.9% of all the world's cases. Next, we report on coronavirus deaths. The The world's LGBTQ COVID-19 deaths stand at a staggering 60,902, while America's LGBTQ COVID-19 deaths stand at 13,322. The USA is 21.8% of all of the world's deaths.
Quarantine quickies. CDC tells states, be ready to distribute vaccines on November 1st. Watch this.
ABC News obtained the letter the CDC sent to every state health official last week. States are being asked to fast-track any permit requests from vaccine distributors and make sure distribution sites are ready to go, more specifically by November 1st, 2 days before the election.
There are very strict rules that are set up in advance of the trial in order to determine when such decisions might be made, so they can be done in an ironclad way that's not really subject to outside interference.
The federal government has told states to prepare for a coronavirus vaccine to be ready to distribute by November 1st. The timeline has raised concern among public health experts about an October surprise, which would be a vaccine approval driven by political considerations ahead of a presidential election rather than science and safety. Some state officials said Wednesday that they were working on next steps while still awaiting details from CDC, although much of the discussion was extremely cautious due to concerns that this vaccine's been rushed.
Well, the first thing that pops into my head on the news here is it's highly suspicious to watch for November 1st with the election being 2 days later. No time to evaluate the release of the vaccine. On Tuesdays, we do Q&A on coronavirus, and Dr. Howard Grossman, who has done it for 25 straight weeks, has said the CDC has lost their credibility in the medical community. This is another example of the point that Dr. Howard Grossman was trying to point out to all of us.
And part of the problem is they are planning on skipping phase 3, which is the long-term side effects of the testing. And this could turn so many people against vaccines. This could scare a lot of people off. The anti-vaxxer movement would increase, and that's going to bring a resurgence of old diseases.
Quarantine quickies. Talk less, smile more, wear a mask, and the pandemic will end. A new research study has found the act of talking, especially loudly, increases the spread of COVID-19 by a substantial amount, as it pushes the air particles nearly as far as a cough would if it is loud enough. It has led experts to reinforce that while social distancing is important, even at the 6-foot range, wearing a mask is critical to public safety.
Wear the mask.
Next, we queer up our segment called Good News. After we finish our headlines, we want to report on something that made us smile today in Good News. Queering up Good News. David Blaine yesterday holds helium balloons to 25,000 feet in a nod to the movie Up. In an amazing stunt in Arizona, David Blaine gives a nod to both the movie Up as well as the award-winning short film The Red Balloon by going miles into the air holding nothing but balloons. It is amazing. Watch this.
Stunt performer David Blaine ascended miles into the air over Page, Arizona Wednesday, holding on to 52 helium-filled balloons. Blaine's 9-year-old daughter had one request before he took to the sky, the stuntman told Variety: add a few pink balloons. In his first live stunt since 2012, Blaine ascended about 4.7 miles over the desert. While his team was on the ground, Blaine was alone in the air, equipped with a parachute and an oxygen mask. He strategically deflated balloons to descend before skydiving back to the ground.
Usually, we would have Al introduce our video on the top 10 LGBTQ video games, but he wouldn't know a Dream Daddy from a Big Daddy. So, the task falls on me. Tonight, we celebrate my favorite entertainment medium in our community in one fell swoop by talking about some of the best video games that include LGBTQ representation. Watch this.
Queer News Tonight presents the top 10 gay video games ranked. At number 10, Last of Us, Left Behind. This 2013 game, about the zombie apocalypse, features several queer characters. As we follow the plot, we learn that Burly Bill had a male partner, Frank, who dies during the introduction. At number 9. 2064, Read Only Memories. This classic is a cyberpunk throwback. The puzzle game from 2015 explores the future Neo-San Francisco. Our favorite feature is that the player can pick their pronouns. At number 8. Dragon Age Trilogy. This game from developer BioWare features Dorian, a gay male protagonist. His sexuality was more than incidental. It was essential to the plot. The story begins with Dorian running away from home to escape a family who insisted on gay conversion therapy. At number 7. Life is Strange. 2015 was a great year for gay video games. In this well-known narrative game, Oregon teen, Max Caulfield, has the power to rewind time. Based on the choices you make throughout the game, the storyline can be more or less blatantly queer. At number 6. Overwatch. Lena Tracer Oxton is probably the most well-known Overwatch character. In this first-person shooter, she has game-changing teleporting and recall abilities. In a tie-in comic book, Blizzard Entertainment introduced us to Tracer's girlfriend, Emily. At number 5. The Sims series. The Sims is an open world full of possibility. The player can choose to play as a different gender, and relationships are not limited.
You can make L, G, B, T, and Q characters to your liking.
At number 4. Mass Effect. This one is a mainstream game that features many queer characters. The team includes a transgender character, 2 that are pansexual, a lesbian doctor, and a gay engineer. The romance possibilities are up to you. At number 3. Steven Universe. Many point to Ruby and Sapphire, a romantic pair that are fused at the hip, as the game's queerest aspect. The video game have both incorporated LGBT themes so subtly and beautifully that they permeate the whole universe. At number 2. Grand Theft Auto. The Ballad of Gay Tony. Since GTA's whole shtick is the seedy side of life, a gay character should be no exception. While you play the nightclub Kingpin's bodyguard, and not Tony himself, it is pretty significant that the entire episode is named for him. Finally, as our number 1 favorite queer video game, Dream Daddy. How much more queer can a video game get? This interactive novel for PC is a dating sim that centers around a single dad's search for love. Teacher dad, goth dad, bad dad. Take your pick. This is easily our top choice for the queerest video game.
Very, very interesting. And I knew more now on gaming. Happening on Television Network is broadcasting on our brand new set in partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church in Fort Lauderdale, Wilton Manors, Florida. We always joke we're broadcasting from the gayest place on planet Earth. Our support of their Sunday celebration is the largest LGBTQ religious broadcast in the world, every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, live. We encourage you to tune in. Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church. Watch this.
My name is Reverend Ren Bell. I'm volunteer clergy, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
We'd also like to thank our set designer, Concepto Modern Living, here in Fort Lauderdale, for making this set in this amazing queer church campus possible. Well, now we're going to end tonight's broadcast with what we call the Big Finish. These are short story mentions of LGBTQ news or news with a gay perspective. So here we go. First on Queer News Tonight's The Big Finish. Andy Cohen pisses off Anderson Cooper with a shirtless photo post.
And Anderson's looking sexy, but he's looking too much like Casper the Friendly Ghost here. Well, Casper the Sexy Friendly Ghost?
Yeah, he's way better than
know.
any androgynous Casper I've ever seen.
That's okay, and I'll join him in the tanning bed later.
I love Anderson Cooper, but I haven't seen a body this pale since I watched an autopsy scene in CSI, or what I unintentionally just imagined in my head if Donald Trump took off his shirt.
Does Donald paint his whole body orange?
Yikes. The Big Finish. Trump asked followers to try to vote for him twice?
Yeah, I guess we're following his advice by doing this story twice tonight, and it's a bad idea either way.
Right. Perhaps this is why so many people in the Trump campaign have gone to jail. Apparently, he gives out this unlawful advice for free. Seriously, am I in another episode of this week's Game of Thrones and Donald Trump is really named Lannister? Or perhaps given his Law and Order campaign and his actual response to Black Lives Matter, he may be the original White Walker.
He's totally under the Flayed Man banner.
Get it, David? The White Walker?
Right. He's the Orange Walker.
The Big Finish, Dancing with the Stars to feature Johnny Weir and, oh God, Carol Baskin?
Yeah. And I just want to point out that even though Johnny Weir is part of our community, our content producer is obviously straight because he completely forgot to mention the sexiest fuck celebrities like Nelly, AJ McLean from the Backstreet Boys, and Jesse Metcalfe from Desperate Housewives. You know.
Come on, David. We all know that Carol Baskin is the real star of this upcoming show. Maybe if she loses, she'll throw acid at somebody.
But then her tigers won't be able to eat them.
True. The Big Finish. I love this story. Bill Clinton said yesterday that Trump will be stacking sandbags to stay in the White House.
And I thought he already moved everything to the bunker when he built the 6 extra walls around the White House to hide from protesters.
And first, can we look at that slide one more time? David told me right before the show, those are real sandbags with orange-faced Donald Trump that Trump sells. He sells those.
Yeah, you can get them online. They're cheap, as is he.
Oh, gosh. The joke, of course, is on Bill Clinton. Trump doesn't do manual labor. You need proof? I live here in South Florida. Mar-a-Lago is full of illegal, undocumented aliens working for $4.25 an hour, period.
I mean, he married one to try and work on having a personality.
The Big Finish. This is a strange story. Old Navy is going to pay its employees to work the polls on Election Day.
And working the polls is a very important job. So many people rely on sex workers and strippers for relief, especially in these stressful times.
And they're working at Old Navy. Interesting.
Oh,
now, if only they would pay their employees a living wage instead of less than the $9 an hour average that you get at Old Navy. But yes, Old Navy, keep fighting for democracy while not giving people the income to survive. Really great work.
Capitalism.
Great work. Yeah. The Big Finish. My favorite story of the entire week. The Boys, Season 2 begins, and LGBTQ America goes wild for those evil and the evil in our Supermen.
You know, it's Homelander because everyone loves it when Captain America has Superman's powers and Trump's attitude. I just want more nudity from the deep myself. His ass is amazing.
I hear a rumor he gets a blowjob in Season 2.
I'm willing to give him one.
All right. Really? Really? All right. This reminds me of the old story of Red Sun. You remember that? Where Superman landed in the Soviet Union and was raised to be ruthless, except now it seems America is the perfect breeding ground for psychopaths to run wild. Yep, sounds right. The Boys, Season 2, or Election Cycle 2. Donald, Jr., Eric, Ivanka, and Kellyanne. Yep, there's going to be a lot of death and mayhem in season 2.
Yep. And that is today's news for the LGBTQ community on the world's first daily LGBTQ evening news show.
Remember, if it's important to the LGBTQ community, it's important to Queer News Tonight. But you must help us. Click subscribe on YouTube and share this news.
We are out of the closet and into the headlines. This is the only source of live LGBTQ news in the world. Your community needs your support.
And you're not alone. We are going to get through this pandemic crisis.
We're here with you, and this is Queer News Tonight.
So thank you for joining us. I'm Al Ferguson, and on behalf of myself and David Hopkins, we will see you daily at 7 p.m. Good night, America.
Good night.